So I saw the pictures of the new 2025 Dodge Charger, right? And I was gonna make a video immediately after I saw it. But I wanted to make sure that what I felt about the car was really what I felt about the car. Like I didn't jump out there and just say something about the car without actually trying to get used to the design. Because one of the major things is like when a lot of people see something new and different and it's not what they're accustomed to seeing, the first thing people do is tend to hate it, right? Because it's different. It's not what you're used to seeing all the time. So the design does take some getting used to. But after a few days of looking at this particular design, I can honestly say that I'm not a fan of this design. Now, there are some things I like about the design, and there are also some things I don't like about the design of this new particular car. Also, looking at this car, Dodge did make some changes with this car from what we saw from the previous model, added some stuff and failed to add some stuff that should have been added to the car. But with all that being said, the biggest thing with this car that it has to sell. But unfortunately, I feel like, and I not feel like, but I have some numbers to show you. The choice of making this particular car and the way they're making it is going to do more harm than good. I got some numbers to support that as well. But first, let's go ahead and drop the intro, drop a word from the sponsors, and get into the video. Today's video is brought to you by CarLock, the world's best GPS tracking and alert system. With CarLock, you'll be able to get various alerts to monitor your car, such as vehicle movement, vehicle vibrations, engine starting. The unfortunate event that your CarLock gets disconnected, you will get an alert for that too. You can purchase your own CarLock by clicking on the link down below. That will give you a 10% discount on your CarLock purchase, as well as use my code to get a 14-day free trial with CarLock as well. Get you a CarLock, you deserve that peace of mind. Let's get into the video. YouTube family, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for tuning in to this particular video. If you are new here, we do a lot of car related things on this particular channel, and you are in the right place for car related content. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. For those of you that have already done that, I want to appreciate you so much for doing so. But we will not hold you too long. Let's go ahead and jump into this video. So Dodge has finally released the 2025, which I'm going to assume Dodge Charger, that will be released later on this year, and we finally get a look at the car that is going to be on the road. The design of the car overall didn't change too much from the concept that they unveiled a couple of years back. I think it was a couple of years now. Design's relatively unchanged. But with that being said, I want to talk about some things they did change with the car. So they updated a couple of things with the car since we saw it before. A big glaring thing with this particular car that is going to hurt it in the long run, as far as Dodge making sales with this car. Now, I know you guys are thinking like the reason this car won't sell is because it doesn't have a V8 in it, and it's an electric car. I'm going to say those factors are not the reason. There are other factors why this car will not sell well. But first, let me show y'all some of the changes that they made with this particular car, some of the little details I noticed. So overall, with this particular car, I can honestly say I'm not a fan of the full design. And I slept on it. I looked at it more and more and more, and I'm just not a fan of it. One thing that sticks out to me with this car that I really don't like, and I mentioned this when this car was first brought out, is that whole rear end, that whole C-pillar rear end area. It looks really awkward and weird to me. Like it like the rear end of it, like the trunk lid of it, is really short. I know it's a hatchback, and the way that the end of the car just kind of like stops. It's just like, it's not like a area for like what a bumper is or anything like that. Maybe it's the angle of the picture or something, but that rear end is not a nice rear end. And I've seen some nice rear ends before, and that's not one of them. We're talking about cars though. We are talking about cars. Like the whole thing just looks awkward, the way it's done. It comes slanted inward or whatnot. It doesn't. I don't know. I just can't understand that. I can't understand how or why it's done that way, but it looks weird to me. I'm not gonna really harp on the color of the car and talk about it because this color was probably done on purpose. They did the dark color so it make it hard to see everything with the car, all the body lines and what have you. They just want to give you an idea of the overall shape. There's gonna be more colors for sure. Look kind of like a destroyer gray type color or what have you. But like I said, they just did it so you really can't see everything with the car. The wheels, I mean, just regular black wheels again. Probably tried to do the black wheels to make it hard to see the design of the wheels and maybe also hard to see kind of like the brake package or something on the car. Try to look at it to see if there's Brembos on it or not. We don't know if this is going to be the top tier car. We don't know if it's going to be like the mid tier car. We don't know what trim this car is going to actually be. More than likely, this is the EV car due to the symbol on the front grille of this car or front nose of the car. We can't say grill because EV cars don't have grills or whatever. But this is definitely an EV car, despite the fuel door that is there, which is more than likely where the charging capabilities are. Now, they did add some things to this car from the concept model that we've been seeing time and time again. Now, they did add the reverse lights to the back of the car, which were not on the concept model, which you can see in this picture here. They added the spoiler to the back of the trunk lid, which is also something that was not on the concept model either. They added the reflectors in the rear bumper, which is also something that wasn't on the concept car. And also they added the side markers to this particular car. Now, one crazy detail about these side markers, the more I look at them, I swear, and y'all can let me know if I'm tripping or not, I swear these side markers look exactly like the side markers on the current generation Charger. And I maybe try to do a side by side if I can zoom in enough. But tell me, the side markers look the same, so I guess they're using the same side markers. One thing they still have not added to this particular car, there are still no fog lights from what I can tell. From the front end shot, they had the shot of the lights and stuff on, and I was looking at that little area by the grill, and I did not see any fog lights on it. Now, we know the Hellcats and wide body Scatpacks and all of that usually do not have fog lights, and they just don't have them for whatever reason. I know the Hellcats don't have them because usually there's like some kind of it's something behind, some kind of coolant thing behind it, so that's why there's not one there. But on the Scatpacks, they use the same bumper from the wide body Hellcat, so it's not on the Scatpacks even though we don't have anything there. But here, we know this car wouldn't have all of that, so it's kind of odd that there's an area where they could do fog lights and they didn't put fog lights on it. One of the biggest complaints I hear about the Scatpack, especially the wide body Scatpack, is the fact that there are no fog lights, and people tend to add their own aftermarket. But it looks like here there are no fog lights on this one either. And we all notice obviously with this car that it's going to be a Charger replacement, but compared to the current generation Charger, the car is much more boxier than before. We know the Challenger is usually boxier, and it's pretty much almost a copy and paste from the 70s model Challenger, but the Charger of late has been much more curvier than the Challenger. But here, this Charger is pretty boxy. Now, I know a lot of people are saying this looks like a Challenger, but a lot of the Chargers from the 60s and 70s were kind of boxy, so they did do the retro styling a little bit more in this particular car than they typically do. So overall with this car, like I said, I'm a fan of some things of it. I'm not a fan of a lot of things. I would say from the front bumper of the car to behind where that window goes, I like that part of the car. But from that back windshield on back, that is where this car gets really awkward and looks really weird to me. Like, I'm looking at this picture here and I'll show it to you. The way it sits, it looks pretty good. I'm looking at the tires. The tires seem like they're pretty wide or something like that. I'm not sure how wide these tires will be, but I think this stance right here is good. I ain't talking about the engine or nothing like that, but that rear end really does not look good at all to me. It just looks weird and awkward. They did still do the whole one light across, which we shown on the concept model, which they carried over to this, but I don't have a problem with the lights, but it's just more so that trunk area just looks odd. And I probably need to see this car in person and probably need to see it in more of a different color to really get a better opinion on it, because I understand this picture is more just to put out there to tease people and give people a peek at what's coming. They didn't want people to see all the details with this particular car. We'll probably get those details later on this year. I still don't like the rear end. I probably need to see it in person, but as it stands right now, I really don't like the rear end. Now, I mentioned at the top of the video that there's a big design issue with this car that is going to cause it to lose sales and get hurt and from that standpoint. Now, you'll say, well, it doesn't have a V8. It doesn't need to have a V8 to sell well. Numbers show that most of the cars that Dodge sell when it comes to the Charger and Challenger don't even have a V8. So that's not the issue. They're going to say, well, it's an EV. Well, they're apparently supposed to be coming out with the inline 6 model. So it being an EV is not going to hurt sales as much as people think. Now, while everyone has been craving for, has been calling for, has been shouting out for Dodge to bring out a two-door Charger, a two-door Charger will not sell well. So first fact here, I stated that usually the V6 models sell more than all the other models. Most people that buy a car, they want a good looking car that's practical. And that's why people buy the Charger way more than they buy the Challenger. Even though the Challenger is the retro car that everyone wants the Charger to be, the Charger still outsells. There are more people out there just want a practical, good-looking car. And the Dodge Charger in its four-door version does that for a lot of people. Yes, they buy the V6, but you got the same looks in the V6 as you do the Hellcat. Be honest, as you do the Scatpack, as you do the RT, those V6s look just alike. Of course, we know the difference. We can all spot a V6 from a mile away, us that are Mopar heads and love the Mopar cars and the Dodge cars and things like that. But for most of the people out there, they can't tell the difference between a V6 Charger and a Hellcat Charger. I'm not talking about you put the wide body on there. I'm talking about the narrow body. You put them all side by side, they will never be able to tell the difference, no matter what. None of that means anything unless there's numbers to back it up here. So this is how much more the Charger sells than two-door cars here. In 2023, most recent year here, the Charger sold nearly 76,000 units. The Challenger for 2023 sold 45,000 units. So you see that is about 30,000 less units for the Challenger than the Charger. And the Challenger is the one that is the retro looking car. So those numbers alone lets you know that people buy cars for practicality. Yes, we love the two-door cars. I had one before, and the only reason I'm no longer in the Challenger right now because I needed the four doors, I needed the back seats, I needed the space of a four-door car. The Challenger, I didn't have that. Granted, it's a big two-door car. It's still a two-door car. People don't care about that. Two doors is not practical. When you got to put people in the back seat, you don't want to have to sit there and move your seat up and move it back and all this type of stuff. People don't want to do that. People want to get in the car and go. If you have four doors, people just get in and go. But let me put this into a little bit more perspective here. Now, people are saying, well, it's going to be an EV and it's not going to sell as well because of that. Let me give you a comparison of another EV car. A controversial EV car, if you want to even say that, right? The Ford Mustang Mach-E, which everyone got upset that Ford put a Mustang name on a crossover SUV. Guess how many units that car sold in 2023? Four-door car, practical. They sold nearly 41,000 units in 2023 for the Mustang Mach-E. That is not too far behind. I mean, about 4,000 units, 5,000 units behind the Challenger, which offers V8s, Hellcats, all this type of stuff. So people are buying these EVs. So there is somewhat of a market out there for the EVs. Not as big as market. I know how people feel about it, but there is somewhat of a market out there for the EVs, right? But the main issue is not the fact that it's an EV that they're selling. The main issue is not the fact they're no longer selling V8s. The main issue always goes back to the fact that this car is a two-door car, which turns people off when it comes to practicality. I'm going to keep saying that. People tend to not buy two-door cars. Like, if you don't believe me, just go outside and on your street, look around and see how many people have two-door cars. Most cars on your street will be four-door cars, crossover SUVs, minivans, SUVs, things like that. You might have a couple two-door cars here and there, but they're going to be pretty few and far between. A lot of times we're not buying cars for practicality. In some cases we have to, but in general we don't. There's a lot of people that are car enthusiasts that buy two-door cars back to back, and that's all they buy. But this is different. This car is not only for car enthusiasts. This car has to be bought by everyone, just like the Dodge Charger before it. That's why they sold the V6s, and they sold more V6s than anything else. People want practical, good-looking cars. That's why people buy the V6s. Without the V6s, we can't have all the other fun cars that come after it. So let's predict maybe how many sales they could see with this particular car if everything just goes well, right? So first and foremost, two-door Charger. If they bring that car out, assuming it's about the same as the Challenger, we're gonna assume and think maybe they're gonna sell about 45,000 units. They won't sell more than 45,000 units of the two-door car, just because of the fact, looking at what Dodge has done just last year, they're not going to sell more than 45,000 units, and that's including the V6s and things like that. Turning to the fact it's going to be an EV, you're probably going to sell less than that, maybe 30,000 units, maybe 20s, and I think maybe 20-something thousand units may be something fair, just because of the fact it's a new EV. People aren't going to be so quick to jump out there and buy it. It's the first generation one. I mean, that's what the Mustang Mach-E happened. With that one, they had to, get the bugs worked out, whatever, and their sales went up year over year. Here are their sales figure year over year. Now, in 2020, they sold 3, whatever. I don't think that really counts. But 2021, the first year of the Mustang Mach-E, they sold 27,000 units. 2022, the next year, the Mustang Mach-E, they sold right at 39,000 units, right? And then in 2023, they sold the 40,000 units that I mentioned. So you can see right there, that first year, they didn't get 30,000 units there. They didn't even get anywhere close to 40,000. Their sales went up. Their sales increased from 2021 to 2022, and then from 2022 to 2023 kind of plateaued a little bit there. So that's what you can expect here. If the first year for this Mustang Mach-E that has 4 doors, has trunk space and all this type of stuff, they only sold 27,000 units, I can probably attest that this EV Charger will sell about to that point because of it being 2 doors. Now, if it was 4 doors, it will sell more. If they come out with the inline 6s like everyone's predicting that they do, that would help out sales a great bit. But to me, I think the first thing they should have came out with was the 4-door Charger, then come out with the 2-door, and then come out with the Challenger 2-door smaller version, whatnot. I don't think that sets the stage well for these cars to come. That's going to turn people away with it being 2 doors. They definitely should have thought about bringing out the 4-door Charger first to see exactly where they're going to be and get those sales out there. But a 2-door Charger just won't be appealing to the masses. So those are my thoughts. I'm not 100% fan of this design, as you can tell, and I don't think coming out with a 2-door car off gate is going to be the way for Dodge to make sales. It's not practical. The numbers speak for themselves. You see way more Chargers than anything out there. People do not buy 2-door cars. I don't care how many people in these forums, on these Facebook groups, I don't care how many people say they would love to have a 2-door Charger. It's not enough to really make it the impact Dodge wants to make. And the only way it can make the impact is doing the 4-door Charger, because that's where the sales are. That's what people want to buy. This 2-door Charger is not going to move like they want it to move. Sales are going to look bad for this first year of this 2-door Charger because of that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We talk a lot of car related stuff on this particular channel. We will catch you on the next video. We're out. Cut it.